Afternoon. So I'm trying something different. I do the Orbi report through my phone when I'm out and about, but today, put my laptop outside. It's pretty dismal, and rumor has it there's going to be some snow coming. So I'm spending today inside, and I figured I'd go through one of my friends online was saying, "Man, your book's so expensive, and people are making fun of you for writing it." And like, okay, I'm okay with this. But the expensive thing bugged me because I don't really care if people pay for it. I just want the quality of play to go up. Like, I want people to play Eve Echoes for free so that, like, Omega players, the folks who actually pay, have advantage without having to get, caught in a cycle of addiction. So I'm going to try and just read Eve Echo, like Orion's Belts. I've got a hard copy that was like not for resale. That I like I like how it came out, but it's not the final version. The one that if you were to buy it, like get a physical copy online from Amazon, it would look a little bit different. I did some formatting changes and cleaned it up a little bit. But this is the one that I got, after the first draft went live. So I'm just gonna start reading, go as far as I can before the laptop craps out on me. It's just a little Chromebook, so like, it's just stuff. Trying to live as if I'm just passing through, because like things don't tend to stick around, and with the shape of the world coming up, it's a little worrisome. It's real hard to hold on to stuff. Everything I've ever let go of has claw marks in it, and like letting go is something I think folks are going to have to learn how to do a lot in the coming months, and something I'm going to have to keep learning how to do, especially as I go from like writing about Eve Echoes to back to novels, back to like writing, which is a lot more fun. Like, ramble. Let's get to it. So, Orion's Belts, Alpha Life in Eve Echoes. Now, Orien is spelled different than like the name, Orion, like the Orion Experience, or Orion, beloved of Artemis, a mortal who became a constellation. Orion's Belt is the three stars of that constellation. But Orion's Belts, or as it should be pronounced, Orien, but I'm a big fan of puns, is a location in Eve Echoes. There's a system called Orien, Orien. It's near the Skarkan coast and the Ethereum Reach, and it's a tucked away, small little high-sec spot with three belts that pop up on the regular. It's just a nice little niche where I do all of my shipbuilding. Well, did all of my shipbuilding when I was writing this. And the goal, well, I'll just start. Chapter 1. Into Space. The only way to win at Eve is not to play. Stars come out every night, but rarely do we meet them. All these people come and go, and why should I not greet them? There is an unexplored beauty in common nonsense. The phone game, Eve Echoes, is an example. It gets a bad rap from its player base. Reviews for a game of its scale and scope have more to say about the players than about the game itself. Echoes is Eve Online, but less detailed. By my estimation, that makes it a better war game, but a far lesser logistics simulation. Between the two, I prefer the shorty. My fantasies are born of the most mundane magics available. They are desires bound up in dreams of naval conquest, of stars and planets and industries built through no more than a keep-away pantomime of manufactured scarcity. Eve Echoes, abbreviated as EE, is like an abusive ex. I can fix her, I swear. She is my forever game. Even when I quit her, the memories inform and influence my creations. Sandbox MMOs are rarely so forgiving while being so deep. The folks who rushed to endgame, in quotes, missed out on Dark Souls levels of challenge and called it a win. Convenience kills culture. I wrote this book for two main reasons. The first is to help new players hit the stars flying. Too often, older players tell them good general advice. Generalities are great until fringe cases come into play. Eve Echoes is a game built out of fringes. It's fringier than a flapper's skirt. There are fringes on them fringes like the Mandelbrot set got mixed up in the sativa cookies again. The second reason this little book exists is to give older players a new perspective on keeping things fresh. The community is notoriously bitter. Here's how folks can sweeten things up for themselves without engaging with the saltiest grinders outside of Miami. There's a lot of game in this sandbox that people are ignoring. Not that I mind the easy plex, premium currency for new players, filling those niches, but a little competition would be nice to keep things interesting. I'm tired of winning. Help me lose more so I can learn more. Come play with me. Chapter 2, Warp Drive Active. There I was in outer space, passing a portal that closed behind me. Do It Anyway music video by Ben Folds 5. I love that music video. It's got Fraggles. It's really good. Worth checking out. This book should not have an audience. That makes it high art, baby. If it ain't for you, the essays will come across as big old pile of cope. If it is for you, come to Orien and let's be social. The sorts of new players that might enjoy the play styles described in this text would be better served spending their time elsewhere. Life is too short to be taken too seriously. If you want to play, learning the hard way is harder, but more rewarding. It's more fun to discover these methods on your own than to learn them from someone like yours truly. Still, my insecurity and pride compel words onto pages whether I want them to or not. So I'm sharing these secrets to push the quality of play forward and remind people that money is bullshit. Eve Echoes and other mobile games thrive on enticing players not to participate in the game at hand. I'm here to remind folks that spending money is not necessary to have a grand old drama all day, any day, should one want such an adventure. I've been to distant worlds. I know the curvature of soaps made from alien fats. I've rescued slaves from imperial forces. A mountain of cat statues sits worthless but beloved in my heart. There are bars among the stars with the science fiction equivalents of Polaroids plastered to walls I imagine myself having touched. Stories tell themselves to any lone audience that looks and listens for long enough. I have killed. I have been killed. I have died. I die a lot, actually, but not in obvious ways. Those are each far more pleasant experiences in the fantasy worlds offered by games, if slightly less easy. Some people like playing in hard mode. If you were like me, doing what others find impossible is a hell of a drug. Taking joy from a free-to-play approach in a pay-to-win game is a bit like role-playing a mouse among elephants. Sometimes I feel far more powerful than my stature might suggest. That's not to say I don't know how the other side lives. I was once a swell whale as well, oh well, oh well. I used to spend money on Omega, and a whole mess of other bells and whistles. NetEase offers many money sinks of varying qualities. It didn't get excessive for me. Other addictions ate bigger chunks of my paychecks. Still, this means I've seen both sides of the experience on offer. I know the grindset mindset that can eat lunch breaks in relationships. Not that those relationships were healthy, but still. Games, MMOs especially, are dangerous. Danger is fun. Competition leads to pretty funny outcomes. People spend a ruby rupee to keep the game open without making inputs. The same play is possible for far less cost, but bigger number go up means bigger high at first. When you have it all, what more is worth pursuing? Returning to nothing is a kind of new game plus that'll be available in any context. When you learn to give it all away, what more is worth giving? We only have this moment, not that one. This one, not that one. I'm a munchkin at heart. Munchkins will spend the rent to watch numbers go up when they could make the same rate of ISK by doing a fraction of the work. I say work because farming is not play. It's serving the game instead of participating in it. And yet, it's honest work, and there's something good in it somehow. Any whale's real goal is the satisfaction of status without the self-respect that comes with earning it. The truth is that earned self-respect is far more valuable than any recognition in the grand scheme of things. Nobody else can know you. You can't even know all of you. Perhaps it is better to avoid the risk of pride than to participate, but there is so much game in this sandbox, and seemingly so few players. Why play a dying game? Most of the content is tailored towards whales. They pay the bills. Here are a few arguments that might entice a would-be player who stumbled across this book. Are you lost? There are niches left open. Whole industries were abandoned to the point that NetEase removed them, nanocores, for example. This means there is plenty for those with a creative bent to invest time, attention, and care into. Nihilist dead space is reserved for smaller boats. There are very few people investing the handful of minutes needed to find these fountains of value, when they could spend billions of ISK or hundreds of hours on a handful of percentage points. Folks will skip out on 10 times better rocks in favor of a 50% better pickaxe if it grants the appearance of security. Hunters know this and have adapted. The world economy was gifted a horrible death by carpetbaggers, and free fun is a mild distraction from real-world issues. The alpha lifestyle is independent of all but time. Tossing a few bucks NetEase's way as a treat is far easier as a reward than as an obligation to keep playing with the toys it might unlock. Why play for free? If you are spending money to avoid risk, are you really playing? What are you really saving? Money can go into this slot machine, but none comes out. Even if you do not have the best ship for the job, building the best ship for the job you can is a reward in its own right. Do it anyway. If you can't have fun for free, you won't have fun for cash, for long at least. Spending is fun, and there's nothing wrong with dropping some dough. It's the addiction that's dangerous. The greatest return on investment occurs at the lower levels. This is a tough concept to grasp. To put it another way, the cheapest ships replace themselves more quickly than the more expensive ships. So, any investment into a low-level ship is more readily recovered. Multiple people using cheap ships are pound for pound more effective than an individual in an expensive vessel. There are exceptions. There are always exceptions. Corporations get this concept in-house, but their myopia strangles and demands more than it provides and guides. In a competition between any two ships in ISK per stat gain, the lower cost ship almost always wins out. ISK efficiency is lost on the capability fixated. Lower cost ships are never individually better than their more expensive variants, but escalation of force is a thing for a reason. Never use a tactical nuclear warhead to do a rifleman's job. Plus, even a little variety can drastically increase the effectiveness and capability of a force. By focusing on small, easily acquired vessels and the maximization of variety, interesting decisions become a constant. Games are built around and out of interesting decisions. It's hard not to want to feel powerful. It's harder still to become powerful. There will come a day where either you walk away or the game does. Invest in memories. Stories over standards. A cat may look at a queen, or so they say. A rifter can kill a succubus with teamwork and timing. It's a funny old world. Chapter 3. Munchkins Beware. A virtual space where I can roam, from Pippa the Rippa, covered by Ken Ashcorp. All right, that song is hilarious. Ken Ashcorp, Kenny, is an amazing artist, and just some of the songs that they make. They did this cover of Can't Stop, like what's it called? Red Hot Chili Peppers. Can't stop, addicted to the shindig. Chop chop, it says I'm gonna win big. Choose not a life of imitation. That song. Ken kills it and messes up midway through, but keeps trucking because it's a really it's a steady pace, but it's a good measured constant chant rap thing, but keeps the mess up in there, and it's so much better because of that. I love that. I love Pippa the Ripper. Pippa the Ripper is hilarious, and yeah, Munchkins beware. Excuse me. Eve Echoes is a wargamer's wargame, but at odds within itself. It is conflicted, them fictional conflicts. It is unfair, yet nuanced. There is an underlying balance, yet it never aligns when and where you want it to. It is lonely, yet there are too many damned people out there looking for blood. It is crowded, but none of my friends are ever online when I need them most to do this or that thing. It's a wargamer's wargame, through and through. War is boring. War is visceral and intense. Eve Echoes is sensational or trite as you please. It is a reflection of the participant and witness as much as any man-made creation may be. It is art. Sun Tzu, eat your heart out. Combat in Eve is as deep as World of Warships and then some. There's the third dimension to factor into maneuvers, but also the effect warp has on tactical, operational, and strategic considerations. To those of a military inclination, those terms are employed here with intention. Gamer types don't tend to value real work. We're too clever. As any good algorithm might, we tend to optimize. In military contexts, this leads to death. Thankfully, games are slightly more forgiving. Still, there are plenty of walking wounded trapped within gaming addictions. I'm going to refer to us min-max meta junkies as munchkins. It's the sort of derisive term of endearment any jarhead, weekend warrior, chair force, mudsucker, squid, or space case might appreciate without relying on the words parents demand their children avoid. How silly that adults and children both curse and hide it from one another. Words only have the power we allow them. Here's a power play. I cuss, so get bent if fuck is a bridge too far. I too am a munchkin, about plenty, so don't think it's a personal label of offense. Sometimes being a little kid with a big hammer just feels right. Munchkins mistake tactical superiority within a specific context for having strategic significance. They confuse the ability to kill for something of value. Killing is the easy way. The hard way is to live with an opposition while remaining true to values and ideals. Sad fact of the matter is, hurting people brings pleasure. It offers the illusion of strength. The urge to kill comes from fear. See Lee Grossman's On Killing for more on this subject. Violence is an expedient of terminal foolishness. Everyone has a bit of munchkin about them, given enough stress. Games are a way to explore this with limited consequence, making them both more and less dangerous depending on how well the lessons are learned or ignored. The sorts of players who spend inordinate amounts of real cash on a free-to-play game are not the sorts of folks who know how to make difficult choices. They are swayed by obvious answers to imagined problems. They are usually good folk in other contexts, just not very well informed about where peace, love, and joy exist. They mistake content, satisfaction, and happiness for the same. Enough about munchkins for now. Let's get all highbrow and self-righteous for a change. Sacred silence and stillness. There, together again. From the We All Become Nukage remix from Transistor. Supergiant Games is amazing, and the Transistor soundtrack is fantastic. Every soundtrack from Supergiant Games is like a work of art in its own right, but Transistor especially hits deep. Anyway, sacred silence and stillness. Eve Echoes is a good meditative tool. All the little timers and ticking clocks that create the Skinner boxes she is built around are made to prey on the impatient. However, those weights can work like weights for the spirit. Patiently waiting for each action to go through is difficult when the timescales vary so widely. It takes practice. Varying the scope of your focus is a useful tool. To practice, stare into the distance until the peripheral becomes experiential. Then narrow the focus of your attention to a point near at hand. You are now breathing manually. Alright, stop playing with yourself and get back to these words, please. There's a lot to cover and not nearly enough time. We gamble with our awareness every waking moment. Knowing when to hold focus, fold fixation, and go all in on sensation is an endlessly entertaining game available well beyond the boundaries of New Eden. Allegedly, such an experience is better outside. Not today. It's just particularly potent in-game as well, since most moves are performed in real time across a broad spectrum. Watching pretty spaceships on a pretty background is endlessly entertaining for me. Number the stars in passing and try not to feel small, knowing fictional space can only represent a fraction of what exists within the cosmic background radiation of the universe. There is peace among the bodies described by those lucid pixels. My attention is precious. It feels well spent in Eve Echoes when appropriate. Alas, the inappropriate is so much more fun sometimes, ladies. Alright. Passive aggression. When you lose small mind, you free your life. From Aerials by System of a Down. Aerials in the sky. When you lose small life, you free your... Yeah, whatever. The goal of the game, for the most vocal, is to get their attention elsewhere while turning a profit in-game. They want fast ISK. They want grind to grind to grind, numbers go up the fastest. There's an understandable push and pull to the addiction this represents. Risk is the reward. Folks fail to recognize that without upsets, the increases feel less pleasurable. My fundamental premise is that if you ain't losing in little ways every now and then, you ain't pushing boundaries. What this means is that when loss comes to visit, it will feel far more drastic than it actually is. That, or it might be a blowout requiring days to weeks of recovery. Excuse me. Better a paper cut every day or so than a broken arm every month. There is pleasure in picking up pieces. There is pleasure in there yet for even the opportunity. Breathing can give dopamine to the grateful. At the end of the day, an ego only needs so much to be. Loss is always on the way. Learning from loss is what makes joy in any context. A champion is never defeated, only destroyed. Whether they are made anew is the decision of eternity, not the brave. Game designers prey on fear. Fear of missing out, fear of loss, fear of inadequacy, fear from challenge isn't bad, but it can be evil. Once upon a time, they took their flesh through quarters in arcades. Now designers farm desire in more aggressive denominations. Pay to win translates to give money not to risk loss. Except there will always be someone who can and will pay more. Besides, if you ain't losing, you ain't learning. If you ain't learning, what's the point? That's not play, that's masturbatory wallet polishing. If it goes too far, it becomes the opposite of play. If it becomes compulsory, it is addiction in action. It becomes confusing experience for background noise. This creates a dopaminergic treadmill, but as much as I used to find that mindset comforting, it turns out silence and focus can offer more than the ticking of numbers. Everything in the game is basically the same thing. Point at shit, wait for things to pop out of it. It's loot piñatas all the way down, folks. There's some defensive play. There's mini games that lead to things worth pointing at. In the end, it's a touch-it-and-see world. Where things get interesting are the areas at the periphery. This is where alpha players should focus their attention. Omegas stand to benefit too, but with fewer restrictions, and so less need for creativity and skill. The common crowd are going to keep doing the same things that feel good until they don't anymore. The secret to endless entertainment is to flip things over and start again with new expectations and restrictions. Alphas and omegas. I was trying to shatter a ceiling where he built a wall. From Pantsuit Sasquatch by Molly Lele. There's another little cutesy one-off song. Pantsuit Sasquatch is one of my favorites. I go back to it all the time, but here felt appropriate. Blah. Everything in this book is written from the perspective of my alpha-only approach, but access to more specialized and powerful options just makes the tools available here even more effective. It's possible to make billions in ISK with the cheapest ships in the game, if you know where and when to strike. I've stolen enough ISK to earn Omega multiple times. When the time is worthy of the effort, I'll re-examine this game with an Omega's perspective. Side note, I'm working on that now-ish. Mostly I'm just playing for vacation time, working on a different book, but I talk about, the Omega approach, the Omega life in my Orbi reports. So, slow going, but I'll get there. For now, Alpha is life. The challenge of making the most from the least is a kind of new game plus that I suspect has no strategic end state. The limitations an alpha must contend with make the climb steeper, but the falls cost less, so success is more guaranteed. Omegas can risk more to gain more, but it means less as everything they invest in takes longer to recoup. The game remains for each. The stakes are what change. Constraint breeds creativity. Poetry thrives on first an understanding of the rules for language, then in their expansion and expression in interesting and enlightening ways. Games are languages. To play is to express both mastery and personality in every move. It's true for chess, it's true for any fighting game, it's true for any MMO. Eve Echoes is just the medium I find most attractive of late. I've found a little slice of heaven in the Orien system and its surrounding environs. These are my lessons learned from my military career, civilian experiences, and this stupid, beautiful game. As with any experience, make it hurt just right long enough, and it'll become art. Alright. And then I provide like a side quests section, which is just little one-off, like, hey, I don't want to think, just give me things to do. Side quests. I want to help you, I really do, but I still can't help myself. Protagonist Syndrome by Violet Pony. It's another weird one-off song that, yeah, I like it a lot. It fits. Alright. Side quests. I don't want to think, I just want instructions. Tell me what to do to play this game. Lucky Charms. Go pick off the healer ships of each anomaly in dangerous space. Be quick but safe. If you're a pacifist, go eat the rarest rocks from a nearby condensed space. Remember to keep your adventures bite-sized, or they will consume you in kind. Salt mining. Set up a vessel using medium torpedoes and go step on some houses like a miniature Godzilla. People want things to shoot. You can shoot stations and wait for them to try and shoot you. If they don't come, don't worry. You have induced in them a state of anxiety that will haunt them forever, or at least for a few minutes. So helpful. Grab shield and armor repair high slots. Go use a red scanner in high security systems. You are looking for big, beautiful boats running missions. Heal them. Some will run. Some will stick around long enough for you to practice using their bodies as a shield. Any aggro at all will likely result in your death. Death race. Grab friends, or don't. People are overrated. Each person picks a station in null they think they can reach where others will fail. Navigate using autopilot as a guide through deadly spaces and turn from station to station as checkpoints. At the end of the race is a free-for-all. Winner gets to live. You could give them a prize too if you're confused about incentives, but you do you, boo-boo. On a smaller scale, you could drop a series of cans in a dangerous anomaly and require players to orbit each at least once in turn. This deadly slalom is trickier than it first appears. Just hitting the orbit button is liable to lose you time as you cock up a clockwise lock with a counterclockwise recalibration. Road trippin'. Take the scenic route from G-Tac-G to Serpentis Prime with rest spots along the way. Scanners encouraged. After you've done it with scanners, try and do it profitably without. Try different routes through different levels of danger. If you have an Omega friend, have them set up planetary mines. Then have them share bookmarks for each end of the trip. Take a nice, long spacewalk with them. Jump by jump, support and defend one another. If you're in comms, pay closer attention to the conversation than the game, and be more surprised when things get squirrely. Autopilot may only be used as a navigational aid in this game. To make it more interesting, try to find a way around. Finding alternate routes together can lead to all sorts of new and interesting experiences. Expect surprises. Follow that spaceship. Pick something small and inconspicuous. As conspicuously as possible, chase someone as they fly away from Jita or some other high-traffic area. Practice reacting to the gate they jump. Keep up, if you can. Iron Man. Play without insurance for a set period of time. Insurance fraud. In an unexploited niche, convert insurance points to ISK. This is considered an exploit, so don't do it, but you can. Don't, but maybe. Survival of the fitless. Outfit a ship you love with random resources. random high slots, mids, lows, and if you're down to clown hard, riggings. Use dice, cards, however you can pick randomly, do it. If you got a friend willing to do the same, go play with each other. If not, come find me. I'll be your friend. I love you, you fucking weirdo. Flying fetishes. Make losses hurt in ways other than ISK or insurance. Use ship fetishes to identify and individuate beloved pixels. If they represent characters, losing the item in a cargo hold becomes far more impactful. Rescuing them becomes far more important. Forrest, my favorite Venture 3, carried a Terran's Force medal for services rendered in Null back when I was an active deep-sea tuna. Losing that medal hurt. Happy hunting. Paparazzi hunt. Out in nullsec, some of the more boring and scared corporations rely on security cameras to monitor the comings and goings of space they claim to control. They usually park Overwatch a few thousand kilometers off the gate, too long for anything but a red scanner warp in to reach effectively. Get the cheapest ship you can, I prefer the Rowdy Rifter, and a micro warp drive. You move quickly enough, and interceptors will be forced to chase you. Wait until the last minute to warp off. It's not the most effective way to blind an opponent, but the goal is to keep their attention, not to actually do any harm. Report responses to the appropriate murderers in waiting. The Collector. Gather a mountain of a particular item. 1,000 secret trafficking containers is an ambitious goal. They're pretty rare and fairly expensive, even if they're just box-shaped lottery tickets. Then again, who doesn't love a nice box? Poverty! Simulator! Go to an ITC. You are not allowed to buy from anywhere but that ITC. Deliveries are acceptable only after you've earned the money required from that ITC. Try and build up as far as you can. The more dangerous and isolated the ITC, the more interesting the rise will be. Hint: anybody can mine. Swords to plowshares. Take your best ship and make it an industrialist. It can be a miner, an explorer, a transport, or something else entirely. Ever see a Dramiel do a shuttle impression? How about a Cinnable? Don't be afraid to confuse folks that only understand linear thinking in the first place. The goal is to lure them into giving you some excitement, ladies. Timeout. Set your clone base, the respawn point for when you die, as far as you can tolerate from where you keep all your favorite toys. Anytime you die, you must spend at least a day trying to turn that purgatory into either a heaven or a hell. Mine is in Serpentis Prime. I changed that recently. That's a little bit different. I still operate around there, like I take the back door into Serpentis Prime, but I don't have that as my timeout spot anymore. I've turned back ITC at the moment. I should probably change that back, but now that turn back's been well populated, but we'll see how that goes. I'll talk about it in future Orbi reports if I start making move that ways. Mostly my goal at the moment is to damage player-owned stations in the area. I want to start farming whales. I want to farm whales to the point that it sustains my Omega for as long as humanly possible. So I'm trying to figure out how to steal POSs. I've got an Entosis, but I think that's only useful for... Anyway, I'm rambling. Excuse me. Snail on a skateboard. Slow down. You don't have long. Old One by Finnegan Twee. Okay, that song, Make Me a Melody, Old One, Make Me a Song, is really freaking good. Yeah, the music video for it, so the lyrics alone are fantastic, but there's a music video, with a dude trying to start a fire in a cave, and it's just visceral. It's good music. Anyway. Snail on a skateboard. Go slow to go fast. It's a stupid phrase, but accurate. Space nerds might be familiar with the mechanics necessary for a Hohmann transfer between orbits. Aviation's full of similar manipulations of attitude to achieve effect. Chemistry and alchemy alike have their translations. Turns out, that kind of thing ain't so uncommon, metaphysically speaking. Tempo changes. Slowing down sinks, and deep ends become more safely accessible. Gamer nerds who have explored various genres might offer examples of the same principle. Playing lame in a fighting game is the expression of this aspect. Countering flashy, fatal strategies with simple steps is the hallmark of mastery. Good feet and poke play opens the way for combos to safely close out options for the enemy while preserving utility. Focusing on fundamentals in a MOBA is similar. Farming safely is essential to long-term success. Economy of action will always win out over flashy, punishable risks. Professional card games constantly weigh value against investment. Trading cards, casino games, hell, even board games all feature questions of value. Military nerds are likely familiar with the common refrain, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Entrained tactics, techniques, and procedures are more easily put into action than impromptu anything. Perfection requires another P word, and it ain't pusillanimous. This method of steady improvement through measured, patient, precise, and slow repetition to create refinement has a place in every profession, martial or otherwise. Kata are practiced first by learning the broad expectations of each motion, then through an awareness of the body as it performs the dance. When violence is necessary, knowing the moves without thinking about them is essential. Violence is only necessary in the prevention of violence. Thinking is only worthwhile if it leads to less thinking. Awareness prevents mistakes. Mistakes cause setbacks. Setbacks operate on timescales wholly separate from whatever context they might have arisen from. The ability to manipulate a battle rhythm from slow to fast comes from practice. Sometimes the quickest draw is best. Sometimes that's the worst possible thing imaginable. Guess what it takes to know the difference? The fastest path is not necessary most of the time. Worse, the wrong approach can very quickly lead to an undesired end state far removed from the beginning. Taking the slow road allows for correction. Good old Bobby Frost was too right about the road less traveled. It is possible to experience a surprising amount of motion while performing very little movement. If you don't believe me, wait by any gate in nullsec space and see what arises. The height of experience may be found in stillness and silence. Go slow to go fast. Enough external examples. Let's talk about spaceships. Cost and benefit. Ships were made for sinking, whiskey made for drinking. If we were made of cellophane, we'd all get stinking drunk much faster. The Ghost of Stephen Foster by the Squirrel Nut Zippers. Another great song, said the Ghost of Stephen Foster on the Hotel Paradise. This is what I told him as I gazed into his eyes. Crazy. Just absolutely insane. So much fun. All right. Cost and benefit. Every ship purchased represents an investment for the player. How many missions before the investment pays for itself? For a civilian vessel, one jaunt into Null is enough, and then some. More expensive and specialized ships might take longer to pay for themselves. The most expensive ships take the longest to return value. Anytime a ship is lost, the number of missions necessary is reset. It's pretty hard to earn a living for the dead. Insurance hides this fact. Insurance is a crutch. It's a bet against hope. Insurance is a lottery one never wants to win. Insurance is the subsidization of mediocrity. Thank goodness it exists. We all need a little grace sometimes. You are going to lose. You're going to lose whatever ship you fly. It's a matter of time. The universe is fairly, perfectly unfair. Kobayashi Maru status all up in this bitch, I promise you. Celebrate this fact, and when loss slaps you back, awake, it'll seem more like cold water than icy death. Think of alternate ships as lives in a roguelike game. Replacements are better than insurance. Even with an insurance payout, being able to hot swap back and pick up where you left off, or choose to go somewhere and continue play, will make limited time go farther. Recovery vessels are better still. Small utility craft make their money without firing a shot. You can recover anything not destroyed or stolen with a support fleet. It's funny, if you pin all your hopes to not getting popped, you will get popped even more and lose more with each popping than if you are actively looking for new and interesting ways to get popped. Redundancy is not nearly so redundant as folks believe it to be. Redundancy is often a necessity. We have two eyes for a reason. We have multiple senses for a reason. Hell, most cars even have spare tires. Call it design by accretion or intention, we have compounding complexities presented through repeated avenues of expression for redundancies upon redundancies upon redundancies. Because life cheats. Life does not play fair. Death deals the cards well, but life is the cat that jumps on the game and scatters the chips to hell. Life sucks. Then you die. Death sucks. Then you're born. Samsara is a storm or a flower, depending on how you're experiencing it. Anyway, to apply this principle to naval operations is to recognize that Death Stars are dumb. Battleships are over-specialized and cost far more than they can operationally return without support. At least, in their case, I misspelled there. I hate when that happens. At least in their case, if you can gather enough together, they make up for some of their shortfalls, but at a premium. The same strategic effects can be gained at a fraction of the cost with patience and skill. A miss with the biggest gun costs the most. Put another way, if the enemy spent more on the bullets than you spent on the thing they destroyed, you're winning. There are no wonder weapons that will survive terminal incompetence. To be human is to suffer from occasional sin. We get it wrong every now and then. Even as accuracy and precision approach 0-0, there will never be perfection across the whole of time for an individual's performance. Those that believe otherwise suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. Wonder weapons are stupid. Munchkins are stupid. We can't help it. Accounting for loss is essential to long-term operational and strategic success. All of life is merely the attrition of what doesn't work in favor of what does. Growth requires letting go sometimes. How can a pilot balance effectiveness with survivability? The answer is to accept fate and only fly most often what can be easily lost. For an alpha, that's cheap ships and a variety of them. If you're thinking, letting go of cheap ships is the ideal, then more power to you, but you'll find that path leads to a loss of survivability over the long run without cover. There's a lot of different ways to say having multiples of the same types of ships is extremely desirable over the long haul. Similarly, diversifying assets is a good idea. Here comes a big ol' argument against over-specialization, which is going to hurt the Munchkin mentality something fierce. There's a time for a tuxedo, a time for business casual, and a time for work jeans and shit kickers. Have multiples of what you use most often, but be ready for the unexpected. Any well-seasoned soldier knows to be peppered. Having an operational bell curve is ideal. A big old pile of trash ships deployed all over the place is nice. A bigger stack of them where they're liable to get lost is even better. Besides, logistics is fun. Losing ships is fun. Losing them and turning a profit despite that loss is even more fun. Managing that requires forethought, if not foresight. Spare ships are just the iceberg's tip. Spare locations effectively turns Eve Echoes into a kind of worker placement game where you operate each worker in turn. Alternate sites are key to redundancy. Having workhorses for each alternate is ideal. Having specialists where the money is, best is even better. However, environments change. Desire changes as well. Sometimes, mining in dangerous waters is the order of the day. Sometimes, setting up a remote mining platform and checking in on its targets every few minutes allows the distraction necessary to give relief from fixation. As I write this sentence, my least favorite Venture 3 is actively farming Fullerite C60. They're scattered hither and yon with similar but specialized fittings based on what I had at hand when they were commissioned. I have enough Venture 3s to have a least favorite, with more on the way. Most get sold. I have enough spares that some aren't even in the running. Even multi-boxers and bot farmers want the best equipment to get to the end faster. But the truth is, the most efficient route is to take the smallest, simplest steps without risk or loss, which is boring, bloodless, and downright cowardly in their estimation. And I don't blame them. It's hard to account for potential costs in cost-benefit analysis when one is, of course, the greatest pilot to grace the galaxy, as we all are. Inevitably, a bigger fish will come. Might be in-game, might be outside, might be the surrender paying to avoid play represents. The question for us each to ask is, how much living was done before the curtains closed? The alpha bet. That's 2 words, like betting on alpha. Terrible jokes, I'm sorry. The alpha bet. We ain't got no guns, we just let the bears witness, from Because I'm Me by the Avalanches. If you've heard of the Avalanches, you've probably heard of them through Frontier Psychiatrist. That song's great, but Because I'm Me is so much sweeter. The music video, too, is really good. It's this little kid who goes up to a girl at a subway ticket counter thing, and he's hitting on her. This little kid hitting on this, I love music. I love music videos, especially. Because I'm Me is one of the good ones. One of the best. Anyway. The Alpha Bet. Eve Echoes is a free-to-play game. It is also, arguably, a pay-to-win game. Is refusing to pay to play an outright concession? Are free-to-play peeps doomed to lose at every turn? Are rhetorical questions too cliche? Hell nah, fam. There are 2 classes of citizen in New Eden, alphas and omegas. Omegas come in a few different flavors and either spent money for their position or earned it by purchasing in-game pilots' licenses. Plex. We ain't talking about them yet. Alphas have limited access. About 2/3 of the main game and the vast majority of the endgame content are forbidden to them without teamwork. An alpha cannot fly the most expensive and specialized ships. They aren't allowed to touch battleships and can barely even look at battle cruisers. Why would anyone in their right mind refuse to join the landed gentry in Omega Land? Alphas have more fun. That's objective, not subjective. If you have fun doing a thing, having to do that thing more to reach your goals is fundamentally more fun. Skinner dipping. Oh, yeah. Money on the Dash by Ellie Duhay. Another awesome music video. I think it was Mr. Mom Music. Was it Moika? It's a really cool animated music video for Money on the Dash, and good stuff. Games play off of the dopamine response. Early on in the Skinner box cycle, the wins are common and the rewards come constantly. It's the commonality that reduces the pleasure gained from those hits of happy chem, not the scale of the wins. We live in a world full of magic. People fly in airplanes every day and complain about the food they are served as they partake in the miraculous. Phones are complicated mineral composites that connect every user on the planet in a vast network. Odds are even you carry a magic mirror powered by lightning that will feed you like a king, tell you all the lies and secrets humanity has to offer, take you to impossible universes, and pretend to be anyone you wish. And it's as mundane as keys or a wallet. What is familiar is held in contempt. Vanilla was once rare. The word salary shares its root with salt. Roman salarium was part of military pay. What was once earned by risking life and limb is now given freely to the point that it's part euphemism for being slighted. Folks get salty about being too vanilla. Lobsters were once fed to prisoners. Now bottom feeders eat them on the regular. We spoil ourselves and lose all pleasure in a cycle of familiarization unto boredom. Life used to be a whole lot easier. It was a lot more difficult too, but for different reasons. Ever play a game with cheat codes? It gets boring quick. Without tension from time and difficulty, the pleasure is fleeting. Look up Universe 25 if you want to see why suicide rates are up, balkanization is going gangbusters, and wealth inequality continuously trends to French Revolution levels. Long story short, mice don't know how to give up the easy life until it extincts them. Thankfully, we ain't mice, most of us anyway. Even the best laid plans have a concerning proclivity for fuckness. Going alpha is great. Underdog life is full of bliss. The top end is far more manageable when it doesn't move with every patch. Building up bases and fleets in different locations has more increments and interesting choices than specializing in a particular role in the universe. Put another way, at the top of the food chain, where is there left to go but down? It'll feel good the whole fall until the last part. Whew. Playing as an alpha no longer has any obligation towards progression. Without that, all that matters is what brings stories, memories, and experiences. Players are the point. People are more valuable than almost anything imaginable to people. Whether from selfishness or selflessness, the cure to any frown or smile is likely another person. Heaven and hell happen to share real estate. The alpha-only playstyle provides a public service. Your presence is precious. You are more valuable than any other individual thing because you are unique. You are more rare than any gem, for your facets change not with the gleaming, but with both light and darkness. You are hideous. You are beautiful. You are nothing. You, a universe unto yourself. Don't let it get to your head. You are existence, aware of existence. You matter to me. Act like it. Come fly. Down Boy. I'll stand for the sake of my friend from Down Boy by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. If it helps, think of alpha-only play as a kind of sacrifice. Giving up the most efficient or fattening path forces one to stay hungry. Absence makes the heart grow fondlers, ladies. To serve a higher ideal, do the best you can with what you have. Some things will be outside your reach without help. Tier 10 anything, for example. Even so, service is its own reward. Constraint is cause for creativity. Necessity a mother inventions, but it is discipline and or deprivation that knocks her up. Struggles willingly accepted are far more pleasurable than any easy-button delight. If you put the collar on yourself, it feels different. If you have the confidence to walk yourself, leash in hand, who cares what others might think? Self-control is always in season. There is realization available in restriction. Burdens accepted don't always have to represent a loss of desire. Twisting and subverting obligation into an expression of will is how play can slip into even the darkest places. Through the release of bonds, we learn the feel of freedom with appreciation. But first, we must accept sacrificing desire for a cause. Surrender enough desires to a higher cause, and you're liable to find an unexpected heaven. There is a reason that most religious ceremonies involve surrender of a sort. It's Klingon rules, folks. The greater the adversary, the harder the struggle, the more potent the victory, the sweeter the triumph. Paying not to play is sacrificing fun for the illusion of success. By sacrificing the easy answers, the questions get a whole lot more interesting. All right, looks like we're at an hour. I'm going to go until I'm through this section. I've got like 3 more pages, so we're coming up on the end game. Who buys the bruises? Beer is the kind miller. I love that. Terrible pun. Bad joke. Fear is a mind killer. Beer is the kind miller. Dumb. All right. Who buys the bruises? But if more people go alpha, how will NetEase get paid? The big company won't go broke so long as whales need a coping mechanism. Everyone needs to whale out every now and then. The question is whether chasing pleasure becomes a constant pursuit without attainment or not. Even so, there are other revenue streams worthy of consideration, like the Concord Pass, which actively challenges players to play more than pay. Completing each free Concord Pass is usually the point where I start considering whether NetEase gets a couple of coffees out of my budget. It nets my nanocore's materials for upgrades and lets me commission new chosen one vessels to receive a paint job and some stats, but only if they can earn them with good behavior. For the uninitiated, nanos are a bit like designating a vessel as something special that can level up over time. See the section on a few of my favorite ships for some examples of what catches my cores. Single purchases feel more potent when they're not routine. There are so many cash grab gambling games. Folks can buy the developers a treat whenever they please without the extortion. The exchange stores are meant to lure folks into cycles of spending. To be sure, what is life without danger? I limit myself to the past for a reason. Saving up for nanocores feels great. Slowly leveling them up feels even better. Buying and paying to level them feels like eating all the ice cream. All of it. Even while lactose intolerant. The experience starts great, but it ends poorly. Maximum Performance. Waters of March by Ellis Regina and Tom Jobim. All right, so Waters of March as a song. I heard of it through this book called Alien Phenomenology by Ian Bogost. And Bogost is an awesome philosopher in like the field of video games as a form of art, just in general. Love Bogost's work, but Alien Phenomenology especially was really interesting. It's the idea of like, what is it to be a thing, an object? So like, what's it like to be a computer? Because like phenomenology is the study of what it's like to be you, qualia of your consciousness and your human experience, but extended to other objects as well. There was an essay called "What's It Like to Be a Bat?" I can't remember who wrote it. It was probably like, it wasn't Russell. I tend to blame Bertrand Russell for things that like he has no right to be blamed for. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. The Waters of March is just a list of concrete images. A stick, a stone, da 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 da, in a very cool, like, what's it called? Same style of music that is often used in, not samba. It's a slower, measured. Damn, I've gone off way too far on this tangent. This is why I write. Can't edit the words as they come, only after. Waters of March, beautiful song. By sacrificing omega options, you will become a more capable pilot. There are tips and tricks later on in this book that will help, to be sure. Don't expect me to spend this whole tome philosophizing and navel-gazing like some Timu guru pilot school washout. Like any nerf herder, I know some maneuvers. Let me show you the way. It is far easier to attain maximum performance within the ship you have room for error flying than with one where failure means going back to the grind. It's easier to learn the limits of an option with more attempts. Some limits are pretty hard to miss. Overcoming them is pretty hard to miss too. Noticing the difference in a 10-second alignment time becoming a 6-second alignment time is much more understandable than spotting a 40% change in 0.01 seconds, if you forgive the spin. You will never actually attain perfection, but attaining the maximum achievable performance with the materials and knowledge you have on hand is totally reachable. It's easier with a lower ceiling, is all. Alpha ships are heavy. They are weaker, less effective in comparison to higher tier omega restricted options. They are weights. Anyone who likes to pick stuff up and put it back down enough knows that it's the mass that makes the act impressive. Learning to dance with weights on makes the show feel like flying. Crutches make walking free and tall feel unnatural. Ever hear that thing about the meek inheriting the earth? This is how it works. To be meek is to be capable, but humble. It's being a comfort to friends and the stuff of nightmares for enemies without unnecessary action. Meekness is not weakness. It is strength held in reserve until it is needed. It is regulating instinctual fear into love for even a justly harsh and cruelly brief existence. To be meek is to shine bright, but try to hide it. It's having the courage to individuate while still serving others. It is to be real and to recognize real. It don't take much to go a long way, ladies. Taking what you have and going as far as it will take you is a path full of surprises. Having the reserves to meet those surprises is far more enjoyable than opening with your best can ever be. In fact, sacrificing your best for a cause can only be experienced by weighing options and holding back until the time is right to go all in. Think of it like poker. It's the repeated raising of tension that the stakes provide which makes the game fun. The individual who knows how to bluff a table into committing where they shouldn't can take the pot without, by necessity, breaking a sweat. Killing is easy. To kill is to die. It's an act of fear, a reaction that cedes to its object control and influence. Killing grants the illusion of power. True power is the ability to attain a goal and more without expedience. True power is the patience to nurture and live for another. Acts of love are a kind of power that compounds and multiplies beyond the frame of reference. Our actions, good or ill, echo into eternity. Love inspires, fear drives. There is nuance in the difference, but too much to express beyond the idea of playing for the love of the game is a higher ideal than playing for any other material concept. There is a certain pride that comes with showing up to a gunfight with a dull knife and a can-do attitude, only to find that sometimes that is enough. It's the self-respect that comes from trouncing someone very serious about their chosen character with a joke like Dan from Street Fighter. Ever see a carrier chase a destroyer? I have. It's hilarious. It's playing the role of the main character in a super serial Dark Souls game with a notoriously ridiculous build, naked, but for a bucket helmet and an oversized purple bludgeon, and winning anyway. It's carrying those wins, those measures of merit, and history, and stepping on the same damn rake a third time in a row. It's the joy of surprises, both for and from opposition. It's spending 0 Skrilla on a gamble and getting the rush anyway. It's dropping common loot, but cherishing it enough to come back for it after someone who passed the wallet check, moved on to more profitable prey. Pride comes before the fall, and that's what makes life a better roller coaster than engineering alone could create. All right, I'll continue next time. That's 25 pages on privateering. The quote for that one is, "Be like water, my friend," by Bruce Siphon Lee. I want to go all the way. I don't know if my computer will let me go all the way. Slow. Go slow to go fast. This going hour by hour, I think, is a good pace. I'm moving ships from Turnback ITC out to Hex Rex, and from Hex Rex down to Freelands ITC. It's slow going because I'm using Terras. I've got a couple Terras stationed out there. I'm not going to spring for a Badger. I don't have the time on this Omega run. You guys are getting a random Orbi report at the end. But yeah, it's a lot of ships. I had like 90 something ventures, base ventures, and like 40 something venture 2s, and I think like 20 something venture 3s. I'm working my way up to a venture 4, which like that's a lot of attention to stack, but it's buying me the time and space I need to bring those ships to market. I think in the future I'm going to manufacture out of Orien, like consistently. It's a lot easier to manufacture out in Null, but getting the ships back to high sec without losing a shipment is nerve-wracking and slow. Basically, I've got 3 legs to this journey. I go from Turnback ITC to Ezreal Warzone, which is a system that it's next to Meow Space, and there's a pretty steady stream of interdictors between the Ezreal Warzone and Hollow Hope, which is another system closer to the Hex Rex side of the pipeline. But it's great for content. Like, there's a lot of action going down over there, and like the war between Meow and AOA has been fun to witness. But yeah, moving like hundreds of ships through there, 13 at a time, give or take. Like, the destroyers and the cruisers take up a lot more space. It's slow, and honestly, the safest play would be to move them one at a time, which would slow it down even further. So I think I'm pretty good, like in the sweet spot for like the middle of what I can field. But if this run turns enough of a profit, because I'm going to sell them out of Freelands. I'm not taking them bitches all the way to Clover. Jita can pound sand. I hate Jita. Freelands, Istadard, Pater, ITC is closer to the Ethereum reach, where the resources actually are. A lot more fun. Anyway, thanks for enduring this first hour reading Orion's Belts. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Well, I won't actually see you, but this parasocial relationship game is fun to play, isn't it? Bye.